Goodness
That's been
knows.
excellent, Stuart. Thank you so much. I won't share that with anyone. Anyway, here I am with the amazing Englishman, but now Frenchman, Stuart Barham, who is
Oh,
an absolutely amazing musician and he's done so many things, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But first of all, we're going to say hello, Stuart.
hello, Mike.
Great to see
Nice to
you.
be here. It's kind of you to ask me for this, I must say.
A total delight, and well, it's a long time. I hadn't really thought about it, and I thought, well, Stuart's the obvious person to talk to, so it's a
Well,
delight to see you.
I've been waiting for it. I mean, we've had so many lunches together, and I'm thinking, when's he going to ask me? No.
Well, this is it. So the first question I always ask people is, what pitched you up on the Riviera?
Well, okay, I never dreamt that I was going to come down to France, let alone the Riviera.
Okay.
And in 2000, two very important people in my life died.
Oh,
It's a bit morbid to start with, my mother and my partner. And so I just wanted to run away from England, Britain, really. And I was working on a cruise ship at the time, and I thought I wanted to go and live in the Caribbean. And a singer came onto the ship and said, "What do you want to go to the Caribbean for? Why not go down to Nice?" And I said, "Don't be ridiculous. That's for the rich and famous, neither of which I will ever be." And he said, "Well, nonsense. I live there." And I thought, well, if he could live there, anybody could. And actually, I had uh, a click moment, or whatever you like to call it. I don't know. Some people call it an epiphany or something. I don't know. But I just knew that I was going to live down in the south of France. I don't know why. I didn't speak French at all. Still don't very much, actually, shamedly. And so I decided to get a plane ticket and move down here. And it all fell into place. And that's another story.
remarkable. Let's just touch on your British experience, if you like. Is that the way to put it? Your West End type experience, because you've had a real track record. I was reading your bio in the West End and places like that, and on cruise ships too.
Yeah. I mean, my life took me in directions where I didn't really know how to plan my life. But I left school long time ago with no exams, no O levels. I didn't pass anything. Apart from music. I did music, and in the seventies, how far I go back. In the seventies, I taught the piano. I had was teaching in schools and privately. I would go to them; they'd come to me, and I was also involved with the local amateur dramatics and operatic society. I'd act on the stages, and I was a musician in the orchestra in Newbury,
Oh,
in Berkshire. In fact, when I was at school, my father asked the conductor of the local operatic society, "What instrument do you need in your orchestra?" And he said, "Well, we need a flute." And so I found myself learning the flute at school.
wow.
And so I played the flute, and then I found myself in this orchestra. And the conductor, who we knew as a friend, said, "Did I want to conduct the show? Did I want to become musical director of the show?" Because he was retiring. And I said, "Yes, please." And I was just about 20 then, I think, 21.
Really?
I'd already had a choir. I had a 24-piece adult choir because the day I left school at 16, I became the church organist at the little village that I lived. And we formed a choir. And so I taught the choir. And so I was doing that sort of thing. And then I became the musical director for Reading Operatics, Henley Operatics, Maidenhead Musical Comedy Society, and all these amdrams. And I thought, wait a minute, I could make some money out of this, maybe, because I felt I could do it. And so in 79, I told everybody, all my pupils, all the operatic societies, I was giving it all up and turning professional, which I did. And I wrote letters to all the musical directors in London. I didn't know how else to do it. And I got 3 replies.
Wow.
And I got I got invitations to go and see these people and see the shows. It was great. Um, and so I did that. And then I got a call from Liverpool Playhouse from a chap called Mike Gaunt.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Gaunt? That doesn't sound right to me. I'm no good with names. I forget names. Dreadful.
I know what you mean, Bob.
See, George. Anyway, it's nice to speak to you, George. Anyway, and so they gave me 3 shows up in Liverpool Playhouse, and then it all went from there, and it became word of mouth. Um, I did an audition for a summer show down in Folkestone, and then all sorts. I got into the West End, and then I found phone calls coming in. Would I like to do various shows? And I worked when I was out of work. I worked at the Players Theatre, which was an old time musical theatre.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It kept going, and that was very useful. It was just a piano accompaniment, and it was great fun. But they had a different show every 2 weeks. While they were doing one show, they'd rehearse the next 2 weeks' show. And it was great for when I was out of work. But otherwise, I got the job on shows like Me and My Girl, on Cats, on the
Wow.
original Cats. In fact, on the original Cats, I played in the orchestra. I
Oh.
was third keyboard, 1982 or something. Um, yeah, it's all very technical, which I wasn't into, but it was great fun. Yeah, I learned a lot, and then that went through the 80s. I did touring. I toured all over the place. Toured Europe. I was the musical director for the Christmas shows at Frankfurt English Theatre
In
for I
Frankfurt,
think about
really?
five shows. I think I did 5 years there,
So
something
what
like
got
that.
you on to being on the big boats then?
Well, somebody asked me actually. It was a guy from the Players Theatre, this old time musical theatre, who was a singer, and he'd become an agent. And he said to me he'd been asked. There was a new ship, the beginning of the big holiday companies. Now there was a company called Air Tours, and they had a ship. It was a sort of new thing for those sort of package tours. And Air Tours wanted a pianist. And so he said, would I do it? And I said, no, definitely not. I said, I said, no, because I was afraid of requests. And although I coached actors in singing and would demonstrate maybe suggestions how songs should be interpreted and all of that sort of thing, I wasn't used to singing on my own for anything. And he said, no, 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 nobody will hear you. I mean, nobody will know you're there. You'll just be wallpaper music and just do it for a week. So I said, okay. And I got there, and the grand piano had a bar around it with stools around the piano and a microphone. And we set sail. And because I read music, I was trained classically. I read music, although I do my own thing with it. I rearrange it as long as I've got the skeleton of it. Uh, I can turn it into something, whatever I turn it into. And I took a big suitcase of music books and songs and all this stuff. And then they started asking for requests. And so I said, well, if you can find it in the book, I'll play it. So that became a gimmick in that week. And they'd get on their hands and knees and find a song and put it in front of me, and I'd play it. And after about 3 days, I got brave enough to sing it. I thought, well, I can just do it as if I'm explaining to an actor how it should be interpreted. And I got away with it. And I started talking to them, and I got braver. The end of the week, I went home.
Hmm.
A week later, I was asked to go back. Would I go back again? I said, but we've got a pianist. What's happened? Oh, well, the pianist that followed you, he said, the pianist that followed you went into the beauty salon and wanted a massage.
Hmm.
Um, and while he was there, he wanted extras. And so he was found running around the ship, chasing the poor girl. So he was given the sack. Um, and
Uh,
I found myself doing 4 months.
so after
Uh,
all those adventures, you then pitch up, swept, shipwrecked in Nice. How did you
yeah.
start your musical life down here?
Well, I knew nobody at all. And the second day, this singer that said I should come down to Nice picked me up, took me to the place where I was staying. That's a whole other story. It all fell into place. My landlord there became a very good friend, by the way, and we wrote a musical together and did it up in London. He was an opera singer. Anyway, the second day I was there, this guy comes along and says, somebody I want to introduce you to. And he took me around and introduced me to the local vicar. Now, I'm not a religious person. I play the church organ. I like the theatre of it. I like a service in that respect. And so this priest, an elderly gentleman by the name of Roger Greenacre. He was a canon from Chichester Cathedral that come down to do the job. Anyway, I decided that following Sunday to go to the church, and I was given a really good welcome. I thought I shall
Oh.
meet English people. Well, to cut a very long story short, I became the organist. And then through that, I met people, and people wanted little concerts, and I did concerts for the church. And I met a guy through this friend, took me to introduce me to another guy called Professor Nadir Saudi.
Hmm.
And he said he doesn't speak English. If he has a piano, don't play it, he said, because it's very grand. It's a very grand evening. In fact, the Princess Grace's secretary was there that evening, and I met her, and it was a very, very grand Monaco do. You know what they're like. Anyway, when I got to this house, there was a piano, so I played it. And this guy came round and started talking to me in excellent English and singing. And we just had a sing song round the piano, and it was his home, and he was Professor Nadir Saudi. And again, to cut the story short, I became his pianist, and we did concerts together. And he introduced me to all sorts of things, and he started up the famous Cabaret Médical. He was the chief heart surgeon at Princess Grace Hospital.
So, what is a comedy medicale?
Well,
That doesn't sound like much fun to me.
it's cabaret, cabaret Medical.
Yeah, but how is that a cabaret? Is it all people dancing around in nurses' uniforms? That sounds interesting.
Well, a cabaret is a
Yep.
variety show. Is a variety show, which is what I really did it. I did the staging of it, and I did all the music of it. And Cabaret Medical was so called because he was chief heart surgeon. He got at the beginning. He got a lot of people from his hospital to sing. They couldn't sing, they couldn't dance, but we trained them up, and they did, and we did it in the big theatres in Monaco, and I did three chorus sections, which they were the chorus, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And in between, we got professional artists to fill it out. And we got what we call an MC, French don't know what an MC is, but I mean, I think they call it an amateur or something. I don't know what they call it. And to introduce things, we ended up with Angela Rippon. Actually,
Really?
yeah, she used
Oh,
to come down, and so lovely, lovely lady. So we got professional performers as well as these amateurs, mixture of everything. We had a professional band. I did all the arrangements, wrote some music, did already written music, of course, and all that sort of stuff. And as a cabaret, when we got to the Salle des Etoiles in the Sporting in Monaco, there were always tables. Of course, they would be the more expensive tables, and we'd raise money for charity. And so that's why it was called Cabaret Médical, because it was based from the hospital.
excellent. That's absolutely amazing. I know you're extremely talented and you're an extremely engaging. Well, you are. I mean, we have a lot of friends in common, such as Colette. Um,
Oh yeah, she's a trooper. Yeah, I love
how
Colette.
did
She's
you meet her?
very. How did I meet her? Oh well, one of the things when I first came down, I started teaching the piano again because I thought, well, I can do this. And there were some people that wanted me to coach them in singing. I'm not a singing teacher in that I'm not I don't know the I know the workings, but I don't teach the workings of the voice, but I can coach the interpretation of the song. And I got this phone call. They were doing a pantomime in Monaco. Uh, Somebody Bat, Madam Bat. That was her name, Bat. She used to do these uh, pantomimes. She was English pantomime in Monaco, but they were very rough and ready. I mean, I used to do the pro pantos, and I know what a panto should be like and how it should be done. They weren't exactly done like that, but anyway, and this lovely lady came along with a pupil of hers, a singing pupil of hers, and it was Colette, and she wanted me to do a bit of coaching for this pantomime. She'd heard about me somewhere, I don't know, in some dark corner somewhere she'd heard. Uh, and that's how I met her. And then when we did the cabaret, the first cabaret that Nadir asked me to do was 2003 or 2004, something like that. I asked her if she would do it, and she got involved that way, and she's been a stalwart. She's a trooper. She would. I always used to have a children's choir, and she would train up the children's choir.
Wow.
We had big casts in these things, and casts of about 80. We'd have big choruses, big children's
Yeah,
choirs and things. And she'd help with costumes. She'd help with any way she'd help. And you know her. I mean,
I
she's
do.
great. She's great.
But
Do it.
now you touched on teaching. Are you teaching coaching still? Are you open to these things, or is there something you want not to do, or is something you want to do more?
All of the above, really. That's
Oh.
a very confusing answer, isn't it? I try and avoid it like the plague. I have one. Well, last year I had one pupil, an adult lady, who's now got arthritis, and she
Oh,
really enjoyed playing the piano. Really enjoys it, but she's in such pain and can't do it anymore.
oh,
So she doesn't do it. I don't search it out. People have asked me to teach piano. I will at a price.
but you have got this most marvelous grand piano in your living room. I know this. It's
Well,
a beautiful instrument that
it's
actually
black.
plays itself, which is truly remarkable. Uh,
Well, it does. I got it. I got it because I thought if I want to play at night, and sometimes I find myself doing work at night,
Hmm.
I can't play the piano at night because of the neighbours. I live in this building with lots of neighbours. It's a bâtiment, as they call it, as you well know. So I can switch it off and put the old things on. It's an acoustic piano that turns into an electric piano, and
Amazing piece of it.
I do the whole orchestra if I want to, and it'll record what I play if I wanted to, and I can play it back to listen to it. It's a very clever
Amazing.
piano, I have to say. A Yamaha. There you go.
Well,
There's an advert for a Yamaha. Perhaps I'll get a free one.
Bonnie Yamaha were sponsoring me, I'll be happy, but there you
Yeah,
go.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, we're coming near the end of our time, Stuart.
Oh
May I point,
dear.
may I point people to your website? Is that okay with your
Of
full bio
course.
on it?
I haven't updated it for years, I have to say. My website is very amateurish. I've been thinking if somebody would like to redo it for me, but then they're very welcome to do it. I'd be very pleased. No, I did it a long time ago and haven't updated it for several years, I think. I don't even think the last cabaret was put on it. But yeah, by
Excellent.
all means, you can.
And can people contact you through that site?
You can, yes, indeed. It's got my telephone number. It's a mobile telephone number. By all means, I'd be only too pleased, as long as they speak English to me. If sometimes if it's French,
I've got one last question I just want to throw in.
go
What
on.
persuaded you to become French? Aha.
Well, the word, I think it's a very easy answer. When I came down here, I just came down, didn't tell anybody, and I just was asked to play at Eden Rock. And 2 years in, they couldn't employ somebody who wasn't in the system, and they wanted to employ me again, and so they gave me a social security number, and I got into the system. Today is much more difficult because unfortunately, politics raises its ugly head with a word beginning with B, the dirty word.
No, no, we don't mention that. We don't
We don't
mention that.
mention that. And that is really what spurred me on to do it. I wanted to do it. And I didn't know how to do it. And I found a lovely lady.
Dear
I
Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy.
Yeah, of
You know Tracy,
course I do.
Leonetti. Oh, she was wonderful. She came to my house. She told me how to do it. She helped me find papers because you need something like 32, 35 papers in order to do it. And we sent it all off. They all accepted it. A year later, I had an interview at the Prefecture, which was in French. And I was very alarmed because even though I've lived here for nearly 25 years now, unbelievably, um, I'm not good with French, and people don't understand that I find it very difficult. I've I've tried. I've had lessons. I've been to the Alliance. I've been to private lessons. I've had private lessons and all the rest of it. But I just find it difficult. I get by in everyday French. A lot of small talk in parties when they're all talking together, I completely get lost.
We get
Um,
lost in English, so there you go.
well, yeah, that's true. But so that's why I became French. And 5 years later, in the summer of 22, I think it was, um, I got a letter saying I'd been French since January, and that was in August.
But you're a certified Englishman, a Frenchman.
Yes, I am. Yes, I got the passport, the French passport. It's great for travel. All this business of going to England and what have you, and visas and all this stuff. I mean, it's so difficult for people these days. I've got friends, who have second homes here, and they used to come to and fro whenever they liked. And of
Well,
course, it doesn't happen.
this is about you, Stuart. And I
It's
do thank you.
me.
I do thank you for our chat. I really, really appreciate it. And I will do an
Well,
article to accompany the chat. But
yes.
if people want to know about music, want a musical director, you're looking at him right now. So please get in contact with Stuart. I'll put his website on the screen so you can all see that. And it only leaves me to say a huge, huge thank you, Stuart. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. We could have gone on forever, as we normally do.
Indeed, well, thank you, Mike. I mean, this is a great opportunity to chat, and I like chatting about my life. And
And
so you've given me that opportunity.
And what an
Thank you.
amazing life. Total pleasure. Now, while I find the off button, we're going to grin inanely at each other so
Oh,
that I have
good.
something to finish on. There we go. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks.